Okay, so this time I'm not going to end it early. I want to play this. Let's play, and we're going to do the tutorial. So, single player. Okay, let's start reading. 1861 Blue and Gray tutorial. Here we will give you some advice and explanations that will be useful for your first few turns when playing the 1861 Blue and Gray campaign. The focus of this chapter isn't to explain all the game's features. They are explained in more depth elsewhere. It is simply to help you get started and have some fun. Our advice is to use this section first to get a feel for the game, move on to the Game Essentials chapter for a greater understanding of the game's concepts, and then delve in deeper should you feel the need. Okay? So they're saying that I should read this other chapter before I start playing. Okay. Turn 1. Select the campaign. With the game opened up, from the main menu, go to Single Player, select the 1861 Blue and Gray campaign, and then click on Play Campaign. Blue and Gray, Play Campaign. From the Choose Side dialog, leave the difficulty level at Intermediate, and the computer bonus is at +0. For a greater challenge, try the higher settings later once you've got a good understanding of how to play. For the purposes of this tutorial, we are going to play as the Union. Because the Confederacy has the first move in this campaign, click on the button labeled Union to select that side to play. Okay. This will give the control of the Confederate opponent to the AI. Then click on OK to proceed. The options screen will now come up. Click on OK to start the game as the Union. Okay. Okay. Alt-tab now. Pop-up messages. Once the game has loaded, the first thing you will see is a pop-up message telling you that the Confederacy has bombarded Fort Sumter and that the American Civil War has begun. We are now at war. It is best to read this and all subsequent messages that appear from time to time during the game, as they will contain important information. It doesn't say anything, it just says it was attacked. Okay. Thinking. Processing events. Confederates celebrate the secession of Virginia. Okay. Left-click on the screen to remove this message once you've finished reading it. This and all subsequent messages... What was that? This and all subsequent messages that you'll see of this type in the game are not set to disappear by themselves. This is to ensure that you are in control and never miss an important message. Maryland General Assembly votes against secession. Okay. Confederate turn 1. Once you have dismissed the Fort Sumter pop-up, the Confederate AI will play its first turn. Anti-war Democrats and Confederate sympathizers riot in Baltimore. Okay. As neither side has much of an army, it is... Whoops. President Lincoln issues a call for 75,000 volunteers. Okay. President Lincoln proclaims a blockade of the southern states. Okay. Calculating supply. From the developers. Decision. The Secretary of War, Simon Cameron. Let me go back to the here. Okay. Once you have dismissed the Fort Sumter pop-up, let me make sure I still have. Okay. The Confederate AI will play its first turn. As neither side has much of an army, it is likely that they will be concentrating on research and recruitment, and we will not see any combat this turn. I'm going to write that down. When you start in 61. Neither side has much of an army, and both sides will be focusing on research and recruitment. Okay. At the end of the AI's turn, several pop-ups will appear telling us about some important events in the game. First, there is a chance that the Confederacy will choose to sell its cotton stockpile, which will provide them with some military production points, MPPs, which are used to purchase units, conduct research, and many other things. Much more important to us will be the secession of Virginia, which will now become Confederate territory, and Maryland's decision to side with the Union. Both of these states are predetermined to join their respective sides. As we shall soon see, this is not the case with all the border states. A riot will also occur in Baltimore, temporarily damaging the city. Once you have seen and clicked through each of those events, the AI's turn will end and your turn will begin. Surveying the scene. Your first turn will begin with 2 more pop-up messages, one from us, the developers, encouraging you to check out the game's strategy guide, and another from General Winfield Scott, Commanding General of the Army, telling you that you will receive an additional 200 MPPs for the next 10 turns as weapons are imported from Europe. That's not what I see. Tip. The game's strategy guide can be accessed from one of the buttons in the top right corner of the screen. Among other useful information, it contains a copy of every advice pop-up in the game, so you do not need to memorize these messages. Okay. Once you have read and clicked through these messages, you will receive your first decision event of the game. Decision events are a special type of event that allows you to make either a yes or no choice to a given situation. Some of them can have a very significant impact on the progression of the war, so it is always a good idea to read them carefully and review your position before making your choice. This decision event is asking whether or not you would like to order the Union Army to occupy the state of Missouri and seize the St. Louis Arsenal. Yes, I think that was what it said. Something Missouri. This is one of the more important choices you will make in the game, so it would be a good idea to look at the map and see the current situation first. To do that, click on the View Map button, third from the left. This is one of the... Okay, well, I'm going to write that down. The decision to order the Union Army to occupy the state of Missouri, which is very far south, and seize the St. Louis Arsenal is one of the more important choices you will make in the game. Well, seize and destroy, can I do that? Let's see here. Click on the View Map button, third from the left. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. There we go. The game map will now center on the city of St. Louis, Missouri. The 2-letter code following every city's name indicates the state it is located in this case, MO for Missouri. Scroll around a little using your mouse. To do this, simply move your mouse in the direction you wish to scroll the map. Okay, to the edge of the map view. There we go. Try the G and H hotkeys to toggle the map grid on and off, and hide or show units respectively. Okay. Okay. G. Okay. And H. Got it. Take some time to review the map. At the bottom of the screen are information panels showing information relevant to the hex your mouse is hovering over, such as its owner, terrain type, any movement penalties, and its max entrenchment value, if applicable. Owner, terrain type. Owner is Confederates. Owner is Union. Terrain type. Clear, clear. Illinois River. But I see woods. Oh, forest. Why are there two terrain types? Oh, because it's a border? Forest, Illinois River Union. I don't understand why there's two hexes. Okay. Not sure what that means. Its owner, terrain type, any movement penalties, and its max entrenchment. Let's see this. Movement penalties. Movement cost +0, max entrench 2. I see. How can you get more? Movement cost +0. Clear. Why is this one +1? Salem. Forest has movement cost +1. Why does this... Oh, okay, forest on the right side has... Okay. The mobilization value of any country will also be shown in the left-hand panel when you hover over a land hex, as will its owner, political leaning, and any special rules particular to its terrain type. Mobilization value of any country will also be shown in the left-hand panel when you hover over land hex, as well as owner, political leaning, mobilization. Any country at 100% mobilization, for example the Union, is considered to be fully active in the war. Okay. Okay. The percentage next to the country name in the land hex display is the country's mobilization level. Okay. Note the term country in American Civil War is used to refer to all independent entities, including border states such as Missouri and Indian tribes such as the Osage. Okay. If you hover over a unit, then information specific to that unit will appear in the left-hand panel. Normally, you will also be able to select a unit by clicking on it, at which point information about that unit will remain in that panel until the unit is deselected. However, as there is a decision event awaiting an answer, this is not currently possible. Okay. Scroll around the map with the mouse cursor and notice that as you hover over hexes belonging to different countries, you'll see that they will have varying mobilization values. Right. Text colors in the information panel will show as white for units on your side and yellow for enemy units. The text for units on either side that have low supply, readiness, or morale will display those fields in gray. Okay. Do I see any enemy units? No, I don't think so. Missouri's that far up? Really? North of Arkansas? Okay, yeah. My geography is not so great. Okay. Decisions. After scrolling across the map, you will have observed that General Fremont is leading a small force near the town of Alton, Illinois, and that you also have a few scattered units in Kansas. Let's look for General Fremont. Fremont, here we go. Scattered units in Kansas. Okay, so it's just these two. Oh, 3, 4. Okay, here we go. Okay. Regiment. Cavalry Brigade. Regiment. Okay. We are now ready to return to the decision event we saw earlier. So click on the button labeled Click to Return to Decision. Okay. Click to Return to Decision. Let me read the decision. Secretary of War Simon Cameron. The state of Missouri is deeply divided. Although much of the state's population seeks to remain neutral, Governor Jackson sympathizes with the rebel cause and may attempt to take his state out of the Union. In order to prevent Missouri's secession, we can order federal forces into the state to secure the St. Louis arsenal, and then crush any secessionist militias that may be raised by Governor Jackson. This would ensure that Missouri joins the Union following the occupation of Jefferson City, although our bold action will surely cause some alarm in the neutral state of Kentucky. If we keep our forces out of Missouri, the state will remain neutral until the state government votes on the issue or it is invaded. As long as Missouri remains neutral, we will also receive grain shipments worth half of the state's MPPs each turn. So if we order into Missouri, will it then not be neutral? It will become a Confederate leaning place? What are the state's MPPs each turn? Where would I get that information? Missouri. How do I, what's this? Grid, units. How do I know how many MPPs it gets? Value 5 MPPs. 1.25 MPPs. I see. I don't think there's an easy way for me to get that information, as far as I can tell. Okay, let's see what this says. Before we make our decision, we should also look at the notes that come with the decision, which you can do by clicking the Notes button. Okay. Oh, okay, let's read this. Seizing the St. Louis arsenal and occupying Missouri is the only way to guarantee that the state will never secede and join the Confederacy. So it is generally recommended that you say yes to this decision. If you say no, Missouri will swing 45% to 55% towards the Union. Following this, Missouri will secede and join the Confederacy only if it is ever more than 0% pro-Confederate due to Confederate diplomatic activity. I don't understand. If it's 55% towards the Union, that would mean it's 45% towards the Confederacy, right? I don't understand what that means. Oh, okay. So this, okay, right. So I'm misunderstanding. This means that this goes to 0. This has to go to 0 before that this number can increase. That's what they're saying. From July 1st, 1861, Missouri will drift towards the Union and can be expected to join the Union towards the end of the year upon reaching 100% mobilization. Saying no will also result in the creation of a convoy route between Jefferson City and Chicago. Okay. So they must have to do a lot of lobbying to get them to shift pro-Confederate. Saying yes will cause Kentucky to shift 10 to 20% towards the Confederates, although this on its own will not cause that state to secede. Historically, Union forces under Nathaniel Lyon seized the St. Louis arsenal, yes, and had effectively crushed the Missouri State Guard by July. Okay. Interesting. In this case, the notes are telling us that if we say yes to this decision, Missouri will never secede and join the Confederacy, but will also result in Kentucky shifting towards the Confederacy. Saying no will mean that Missouri will remain neutral, but will likely join the Union towards the end of 1861. The historical actions in this situation are also given, and as we can see, yes is the answer that will result in a historical outcome. Okay. You may recall that at the end of the first Confederate turn, Virginia seceded and joined the Confederacy, while Maryland chose to remain with the Union. Those results are predetermined and will occur in every game, and the same is true for the states of Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina, which are all still currently neutral but will join the Confederacy over the coming turns. Unlike those 5 states, Missouri and Kentucky may join either the Union or Confederacy depending on the actions both sides take early in the game. If either state is more than 0% mobilized in favor of the Confederacy, it will secede and immediately become Confederate territory. Why more than 0%? That seems arbitrary. Question I'll write that as well. Why will Missouri and Kentucky secede if they're just anything more than 0% in favor of the Confederacy? That seems like an arbitrary threshold. Okay. Of the two, Missouri is by far the more important, as it contains significantly more towns, which generate MPPs, and commands the approaches to the Western Territories and Kansas. So we should do everything possible to prevent it from seceding. Fortunately, the decision's notes inform us that saying yes to this decision will guarantee that Missouri will never secede. So we will click OK to close the notes and then click the Yes button to make our decision. Okay. Kentucky concerned by the Union violation of Missouri's neutrality policy. Okay. Governor Jackson raises the pro-Confederate Missouri State Guard. Okay, another decision. 2 events will then pop up, informing us that Kentucky is upset with our decision, and Missouri's Governor Jackson will raise the Missouri State Guard to oppose us. Before we can deal with him, however, we will be offered another decision, asking whether we would like to evacuate the forts in the Indian Territory, modern-day Oklahoma. Okay, let's read it. Fort Washita Garrison, Colonel William H. Emory. Before the beginning of the rebellion, most of our small army was stationed at the various forts across the Western Territories. Okay. Although most of these garrisons are located in areas far from the rebel states, and thus will play no part in this war, those located in the Indian Territory are under direct threat from militias operating from Texas. In order to prevent the likely destruction of these garrisons, we can evacuate them to Fort Leavenworth with the help of the local Indian warrior Black Beaver. This will ensure their safety, although the rebels will surely capture Forts Cobb and Washita and make the Indian tribes much more likely to side with the rebels. Alternatively, If we order the garrisons to maintain their positions, we will have a better chance to control the Indian Territory and may be able to secure the help of some of the resident tribes. Note that if you order the garrisons to remain, it will not be possible to move them until the Indian tribes have joined the war, and they will require reinforcements to hold for any length of time afterwards. Okay, what? Why? Would you like to order the evacuation of the Indian Territory forts? Why can't I move them? Okay. This choice is less important than the Missouri one was, asking us merely whether we would like to deploy 2 regiments in the Indian Territory or in Kansas. As units deployed in Kansas can be used against Governor Jackson in Missouri, we will say yes to this decision as well. As it turns out, yes was also the historical response, and considering the Union won the war historically, we can't go too wrong copying that. Let's read what that note say. The garrisons of the Indian Territory consist of 2 regiment units, which, if not evacuated, will appear in Fort Gibson and Fort Washita. Saying yes to this decision will instead result in these 2 regiments deploying in Fort Leavenworth in early May, where they will be well positioned for use in Missouri and/or Kansas upon receiving reinforcements. If you say no, all 5 Indian tribes will move 5 to 10% towards the Union. Note that from July 1861, Indian tribes will begin drifting towards whichever side they favor at that time, so prompt diplomatic action will be required if you wish to bring some of them to the Union side. Historically, the Indian Territory forts were abandoned, yes, on April 17, 1861, and all 5 Indian tribes had sided with the Confederacy before the end of the year. Interesting. All 5 had sided with the Confederacy. Okay. Why? Why will they begin drifting towards whoever they favor? Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do yes. Confederate forces occupy forts in the Indian Territory. Okay. New units. Once both decision events have been answered, you will be presented with the New Units menu. This allows you to deploy new units on the map. Currently, we have 3 brigades available to be deployed, representing some of Lincoln's 75,000 volunteers. And don't worry, they won't desert after 90 days. Notice that the first one is labeled Washington, D.C. Union. This means that this unit can only be deployed in Washington, D.C. The others may be deployed in any Union city, major city, or capital. Okay. Okay. When you click OK, the map will center on Washington, D.C., and the 5 hexes in and around the city will be marked green, indicating hexes in which you are allowed to deploy the unit. The hex to the southwest is owned by the Confederacy, so you cannot deploy units there. Okay. Okay. Left-click to place the unit in one of those hexes, or right-click to cancel and to be taken back to the screen showing the units that can be deployed. Units may be deployed in any order, and you are not required to deploy all units in a given turn, though we strongly recommend that you do deploy all of your units whenever possible. As our capital city is currently undefended, we are going to deploy all 3 brigades in and around Washington, D.C. Okay, let's put him there. That's my first unit ever placed in Strategic Command. There. Oh, I can put him here? Okay. The top left sidebar. At the top left of the screen is a sidebar showing the flags of your majors, the Union and Mexico. Union, Mexico, okay. Under each flag are shown the available military production points, MPPs, followed by the major's current mobilization level. The Union will be 100% mobilized, while Mexico will be 0%. Mexico is extremely unlikely to enter the war and will not generate any MPPs until they do, so we can ignore them for now. Right-click on the Union flag and you will see the units that the Union currently has due to deploy during the campaign. I see. Okay. Their exact arrival dates are shown beneath each unit. I see. If you click on the Mexican flag at the top of the table, it will show you the units that they are due to receive. Nothing. Although in this case, they will not have any. Note that this table does not include those units that are still currently mobilizing or due to arrive via later events, including any triggered by decision events. Okay. Once you finish looking, click OK. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay. What's this? More people. Oh. These are generals? What is G? Why does it go so far into the future? I don't understand that. Grant. G. M. What is G and M? R, T, F. Let me maybe duplicate this and remind myself what those unit symbols. M is a monitor. G. What is G? Is a gunboat. Okay. F. Frigate. Okay. What's a flag? HQ. I see. Howard, Sheridan, Banks, Halleck, Grant, Hancock. Okay. It goes quite far into the future. So I'm guessing, yeah, okay. So it's kind of like scripted, sort of. It's not a sandbox. Okay. I get it. We are now going to head back to the Union. So left click on the Union flag on the sidebar at the top left of the screen to center the map on the capital. Left click on the Union flag on the sidebar at the top left of the screen to center the map on the capital. Okay. I get it. Washington, D.C. This is a quick and handy way of moving around the map, as you can select any of your major's flags to be taken to their capital. Then scroll the map to the west until you see your armies at the border with Missouri. Okay, Ohio. The reason for going here is that we are going to begin the war by attacking the Missouri State Guard. Land movement. Before we launch our first attack, let's look at land movement and how you can seize territory from the enemy. Whenever an active unit has been selected with a left mouse click, its allowable movement range is highlighted on the map as shown below. Okay. Then, depending on the current mouse position, the highlighted movement path will display the total movement cost. This includes all associated terrain penalties, as well as any additional penalties of attempting to move near enemy units that are exerting a zone of control. So, here we go. Got it. I get it. You can then move the unit by left-clicking on a highlighted hex that you wish it to move to. Then, if you release the unit by right-clicking with your mouse or clicking on another unit, it will commit that move. Okay. So, to move a unit, left mouse button to select it, to issue a move order, and then right mouse button to confirm the order. Okay. At this point, Fog of War will update to potentially reveal any enemy units that couldn't be seen from your original position, but can be seen now. A unit can move multiple times until it has used up all its action points. However, note that your unit will only retain its full spotting distance the first time it commits its move. So any subsequent movements that turn will be at greater risk of bumping into previously unseen enemy units. I see. Oops. Okay. Once a unit has used up all its action points, the counter underneath the unit image will have darkened, and it no longer shows an activation sprite at the bottom left of the counter. Activation sprite, is that the flag? Activation sprite, I guess that's the flag in the bottom left. These changes signify that this unit has used up all its action points for this turn, and can do nothing more until next turn. Okay. We will begin, so I'll write that down. We will begin our occupation of Missouri by moving our cavalry brigade onto the river hex northwest of St. Louis, hex 9271, and then deselect it by right-clicking. Cavalry brigade. (9271). Where? Oh, okay, here we go. 9271, here. Right into the city. Okay, that's my first movement order. Playing strategic command. Deselect it by right-clicking. This will allow it to spot the nearby area and make sure there are no enemy units that may ambush us. Cavalry have a spotting range of 3 hexes, while infantry only have a spotting range of 1. So using cavalry to scout the area ahead is essential to avoiding an ambush. Okay. What are these hex sizes? It's not clear to me. The extent to which you can see is shown by the fog of war shroud. The limits of your current visibility can be easily seen as hexes beyond the spotting range of your units. Okay. And resources are darkened by the shroud. And this shroud automatically adjusts in line with the situation. After moving your cavalry, you can see that the shroud has retreated, revealing that the town of Washington, Missouri, and nearby hexes are empty of enemy units. Whoops. Here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Having confirmed that the area is clear, we can then move our cavalry again, this time to occupy St. Charles. We will also move our infantry as far west as it may go this turn, and send General Fremont to occupy St. Louis. Okay. Okay, so let me do that. Move the cavalry to occupy St. Charles. Move the infantry as far west as it may go this turn. Here? Here? Where are they trying to go? Send General Fremont to occupy St. Louis. We have another cavalry brigade, this one located in Lawrence, Kansas, which we can send to occupy Missouri from the west. When you are finished, okay, let's do that. Lawrence. Okay. Oh, they went south, down the road. Okay, that's fine. When you are finished, the situation in Missouri may look like this. Okay. The war at sea. Now we're going to move to the east to review the Union's fleet. You may wish to zoom out one level using the scroll wheel on your mouse to better see where all its vessels are located. One level? Words. Okay. The Union has 2 frigates at Boston, another frigate in Key West, Florida, and a gunboat in Fort Pickens, Florida. 2 frigates in Boston. Okay, see them. Oh, they're the flags. Another frigate in Key West. Oh, I'm supposed to do like this. Click. Got it. This is Key West. Yep. And a gunboat in Fort Pickens, Florida, near Pensacola. Okay. Many more ships will arrive in the coming turns, including a large fleet of gunboats. To see these, click on Purchase at the top of the screen, and then click on Production in the bottom right. Purchase. Production. Okay, so this is what I saw before. To see what units are already under production and when they are set to be available for deployment. I get it. Currently, our Navy does not have much to do, as the Confederates do not begin the game with any ships and are not yet receiving any convoys from overseas. Both of these will soon change, but for now it would be a good idea to get our ships in a position to begin blockading the Confederacy for when the time comes. Okay. Scroll the map up to Boston and locate the frigate Niagara, which will be located in hex 17933. Okay. Okay. Boston is far away from the Confederate coast, and any ships left up here won't have much to do. So let's move the Niagara down to a more useful position. Selecting the Niagara, we can see that it can move 14 hexes this turn, which would allow it to sail as far south as Rhode Island. Now left-click on it again. Okay. Right. Oh, it's purple. I mean, orange. You'll notice that the hexes around it have turned orange. This is because it is now in cruise mode, which allows it to move double its normal distance for a cost of 1 supply point. Okay. Okay, let me write this down. When you start, you want to invade Missouri. You also want to move your ships closer to the Confederate. Can blockade. Left click a unit to a ship. Cruise mode. Okay. Now left-click on a destination hex, heading south to somewhere near the coast of New Jersey, and then do the same with the other frigate in Boston, the Mississippi. Okay. So, what's that? Oops. Oops. The other frigate and gunboat we identified earlier can be left where they are for the time being. Leaving them in port will ensure that they are at maximum supply and readiness when we do need them. But one of them is in like Confederate territory. I don't understand that part. It can't be seized? Oh, it's off the coast. Interesting. Okay. It's at a fort off the coast of the... Interesting. Okay. Note that it's best not to use cruise mode every turn, as it does use up supply, but once or twice on an outbound mission will get you to your destination much faster. Okay. Okay. Tip: you can select a movement path by holding down Control on your keyboard and then left-clicking on a hex you wish to pass through. The unit won't actually move until you either release the Control button and then left-click on your final destination, or you left-click with Control held down on the most distant point you can reach. Okay. Note: the names of naval units generally denote a number of vessels, using the name of a historic vessel to give them historical flavor. The names generally denote a number of vessels. Okay. Okay. Research. We currently have 200 MPPs available to spend. Especially early in the game, it is a very good idea to consider doing some research. The Civil War was a time of dramatic technological development, with armored trains, ironclad warships, submarines, and many other weapons making their battlefield debut during the conflict. And it is very likely that the side better able to utilize these new technologies will win the war. Okay. Select Research from the bars along the top, or use Ctrl R to bring up the research dialog. Okay. No, not that. This one. The dialog that opens has a tab for each major, the Union and Mexico, though Mexico has no MPPs and thus will be unable to conduct research unless they enter the war. I see. Categories in green are currently being researched, and by hovering over a category, you will see an explanation of it in the bottom left corner. Okay. The Union starts with some advanced research levels, such as amphibious warfare and logistics, in the right-hand column. In the top right, you can see your available MPPs, as well as the total that has already been invested in research. Okay. Available 200, total research funding 1250. Okay. At the bottom right, you can see the maximum amount that can be invested at any one time. Maximum research 4,000. Okay. While we have a wide range of research options to choose from, 4 technologies deserve the greatest attention: infantry equipment, corps organization, production technology, and industrial technology. Infantry equipment will increase the attack and defense stats of our infantry units, which will make up most of our army. And the latter two will reduce the costs of units and increase our MPP production respectively. But unfortunately, all 3 cost 250 MPPs to invest in. Fortunately, we already have the maximum 2 chits invested in industrial technology, but we will have to wait until subsequent turns for the other 2. Okay. Equipment, core, organization, production. Okay. One technology that we can afford to, and certainly should invest in, is core organization. Developing this technology will allow us to build core units, which are significantly more powerful than the regiments and brigades we currently have on the map, or the divisions currently available to purchase. We will discuss them more later. Okay. You're right. Core is one step up from a division. Ensure that you have, they should have mentioned that. Ensure that you have the Union's flag selected at the top of the dialog box. Then click on the up arrow next to Core Organization, and then click Yes on the confirmation box that appears. Core Organization, here we go. So as to agree to making the investment for a cost in MPPs. The research screen now shows 1 chit in Core Organization. Select Table at the bottom. Let me see this. 1 chit. Okay. Select Table at the bottom to bring up the Research Table dialog. This shows the current level for all technologies for all your majors. Okay. Amphibious warfare is 3. Experimental balloons, logistics. Okay. Lighthouses, naval engines. Got it. Click on Close when done. Ending the turn. Once you've completed all actions this turn, select End Turn or Control E to finish the turn. There will now be some end of turn events, including the secession of one or more of Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina, the arrival of new units in Missouri and Baltimore, and pop-ups informing you of other events that are happening. Okay, let's do it. Control E. Confederates celebrate the secession of Arkansas. Okay. Arkansas secedes and joins the Confederacy. Confederates celebrate the secession of Tennessee. Tennessee secedes and joins the Confederacy. Confederates celebrate the secession of North Carolina. North Carolina secedes and joins the Confederacy. Pro-Union Missouri volunteers join Nathaniel Leon's forces near St. Louis. Benjamin Butler's armored train helps the Union quell unrest in Baltimore. The Provisional Army of the Confederate States begins organizing. Okay. President Lincoln calls for Union volunteers to serve 3-year terms. Union collects 674 MPPs, 5 from Kansas, 25 from Chile. Chile? What? 5 from oh, wow. Okay, wait. So these are bonus. 5 from Nebraska Territory at 100% spring. 5 from the Dakota Territory at 100%. Oh, geez. Okay. That's weird. Why would it automatically advance past that? Great Britain extends belligerent status to the Confederacy in response to the blockade. What does that mean? They're saying that they started it? Calculating supply. Okay, strategic advice. Let me see. The Union will then collect MPPs, providing you with income that you will be able to spend next turn. If Mexico was in the war, it would also collect some MPPs at this stage. The Confederate AI opponent will now carry out its turn. If you like to watch its move but get called away, then pressing pause or break on your keyboard will pause the AI's turn. Press it again for the turn to continue. Union turn 2. Okay. Well, I was going to stop at that point. 72. Let me see if I can save. Can I save now? Oh, geez, I missed that. Okay, I guess I'll read it. Strategic advice. Mr. President, the capture of New Orleans, the largest city in the South, and the gateway to the Mississippi River, would significantly improve our chances of defeating the Southern Rebellion. To accomplish this, some of our commanders are proposing that we send an amphibious force, escorted by river gunboats, up the river to occupy the city. Okay. While our coastal gunboats are capable of sailing into the Mississippi directly from the Gulf of Mexico, a greater logistical effort will be required to deploy more powerful river craft, particularly river ironclads in the southern Mississippi. Should you wish to send such warships to the river, the Navy asks that you move them to the marked hex near New York. The Navy will then automatically arrange for larger ships to escort the riverboats to the mouth of the Mississippi. Okay. Recommendation: deploy river warships in New York for use on the Mississippi River. Okay. Oh, more. Mr. President, the city of New Orleans is extremely vulnerable to a campaign up the Mississippi River. Situated merely a few feet above sea level, the city relies on a system of levees and dikes to protect it from floodwaters. In the event that our gunboats are able to sail up the river to the marked location at the city's edge, these defenses could be within range of our guns. While our analysts are still determining the likely effects of their destruction, it is likely that flooding New Orleans would have a catastrophic effect upon the strength of the city's garrison. Unfortunately, the effect of such an attack would only be temporary, and if we did not then move to quickly occupy the city, the rebels will surely reinforce their garrisons. Recommendation: do not bombard the levees of New Orleans unless you have sufficient amphibious transports within range to occupy New Orleans. Note: you will be offered a decision event at the beginning of the first turn in which a Union warship occupies hex 96-128, which may only be accepted or denied once. If you intend to destroy the New Orleans levees, do not move any warships into this location until you are ready to launch the attack. Oh, the beginning of the first turn in which a Union warship occupies, I say. I understand. Okay, well, how do I want to save? How do I... Wait, did I just skip that? Oh, I can still place them. Okay. I want to... How do I save? How do I close this? Okay. Oh, this one. Okay. So if I'm here, I can click this? No, I can't. I have to close this first. And then I can click this. I don't know. Do I type? Okay. Save. Okay, let me see. How long is this? Yeah, I think I'm going to do that as a separate video. Turn 3, right. And then I'll do this as another video. General tips. Gosh, and all... Okay. Orders. Unit modes, zones of control, combat. Raiding, conquering countries, fighting spirit, HQs, supply rules. And people said this was an easy game. Fueling supply, damage to resource, partisans. Okay. Okay, well, fine. Yeah, I will do that as a separate video. Where am I? Turn 2. Here we go. All right, I'm going to stop there, and I'll pick up another day.